Good morning, everyone. And because this is online, so I don't know where are you. Some of you may be at the other side of the globe, and wherever, whatever, whenever you are, I would like to send my greetings from Plum Village to you. This is the second talk of our rain retreat, and today is the 27th September, year 2020, and this is in the Upper Hamlet's Meditation Hall. I have to admit this is the very first time I am here giving a Dharma talk in the Brothers Meditation Hall. It's quite a little bit strange feeling. I have been staying for 3-4 years in Asia, and have to tell you, over there the nuns do not have a high position as the monks. So even though I be able to get up and give talks sometimes, it's not in a big Dharma hall like this one. And even though I came from Plum Village, where monks and nuns are equal, that's a revolutionary progress of Thai. Staying too long in Asia, I get a little bit of influence into my way of behavior. So being up here, seeing all my younger brothers there, like Brother Fapo said last time, I feel a little bit nervous. Butterflies in my belly, that's what he said. Today we are going to have the formal request to welcome our future young monks and nuns. And that will be a very happy moment when our community will continue to expand, and we can see the future. When I talk about rain retreat, I kind of smile because it has been raining for the last 3-4 days. And I said, okay, this is really rain retreat. And the same thing when I'm here and I'm thinking about the formal request that will happen today, I'm really happy because that's the real commitment of a young person who would like to come and join the community. A community of monastic or a community of lay people is a community. And what bonds us together is our ideal, our devotion, our wish. It's strictly voluntarily. But what has happened that sometimes the life in a community is not smooth, and sometimes we are suffering. Take the smallest unit of a community is a family life. 2 persons come together, also voluntarily, and sometimes they said, like, without you I cannot live, huh? So let's move on and stay together. Now what has happened? What contributes? So people full of happiness come in and sign for a marriage certificate, and then later on seeing at the court for a divorce. Because you have been changing, or I have been changing, or the fault is not yours, it's not mine, it's because of somebody else. Everybody has experienced some kind of suffering that happened in the relationship. Even though we volunteer and make the commitment. And we were very sincere by the time that we made the commitment. So living together is an art. And when we come to a community, especially a community like Plum Village, it's a joy, it's a challenge. Plum Village community is a very international community. And not talking about the difference in nation, in races, in countries, just being one person, just being person in one country, we already different. I remember in a New Hamlet, we had the activities where we group into nationality, so then we can present the countries, the culture, so everybody else can understand more about ourselves. And only for the Vietnamese community, we have 3 different parts, the north, the central, and the south. And when it was presented, we see clearly the background and the culture that affects into one person. Not talking about each family where you grew up is different, about the way of education, about the way of environment, about the way of the local culture. How can we live peacefully, happily, and enjoy being together? The first thing that bonds us together is our devotion, is our wish. What makes us come together? We come together because we want to attain something. We want to transform ourselves. We want to be at peace. And we all know that only when you have inner peace, you can see peace everywhere. But if our practice is too weak, then we take refuge on the energy, the peaceful energy of the community. Lately, I have received several emails of people who have been moving to live next to Plum Village, to be able to take refuge in the practice of Plum Village, and also to be able to enjoy and participate in the peaceful energy that the community of Plum Village has been generated. So with the fact that right now is COVID, social distancing, then we have to close for the public, and it brings some kind of suffering for people who cannot come. I wish that I can have a magic that I can send my peaceful through the online one, but I think it's not easy. People need to practice themselves and just be like a drop of water in the river of the Sangha, then they can see it. But we can share our practice, and hopefully It can help people from here and outside to be able to be calm and to feel being supported in the world that is somewhat has so many trouble right now. The main key is how can we communicate to each other so then we can support each other. We all have a need to be understood and to be loved and to belong to some groups, to some community. So then we feel like we have support, and we also feel like we have the strength of a group, of a community. When you participate in a retreat and you come home and you are encouraged to set up a community so that it can support your practice. But the life in a community is not easy, even though you stay in your own house and you come together only for day of mindfulness or for meetings or for some activities that you would like to do together. Now, this is where the problem is. Let's take an example. Okay, this is a flower, and everybody look at the flowers, and we all agree that the flowers are for decorating. It shows its beauty, and it makes us feel fresh when we look at that. I hope everybody agree with that statement. Now when we come to more detailed things like, what kind of flower is this? What color it is? How much is the pot? We start having different ideas. I don't like this flower. I like others. I like different colors. The price is too much. So for big things, we agree. We disagree about little things. And that makes us different from each other because of our desire, because of our wish, because of our liking. It's all different. And when we think that our idea is correct, of course that idea is based on our understanding about something. It's based on our experience about that object. It's based on our experience about that situation. Then we have our own idea. And in a meeting, each one has a different idea. Now, of course, that our idea, like I look at my idea and I think, of course, my idea is correct. It's not I'm stubborn and try to protect my idea, but because that's what I feel and that's what I experience. So when my idea is correct, what about other people's idea? I always told myself, even two persons choose to be together and come together, they still have different ideas. And sometimes it becomes big. They cannot live peacefully with each other. Now, in a community, in a family, we were born from same mothers, same father, but we also different. Now, in a community, we don't have choice. How could we expect everybody has the same idea? So in a meeting, ideas are different is very normal. It's not normal if we don't have any different idea. When a matter was raised up, nobody spoke a word. Must be something wrong. Because maybe their idea is not, they feel like their idea is not being listened, or they are very passive. They don't want to think. They always encourage us that it's very good to have different ideas in one meeting, because that reflects the diversity of the community, but also when we be able to harmonize all the ideas, we will come to the best idea. And the insight of one person is not enough in compared to the view of everyone. I experience that sometimes I have some idea, and I know that, of course, I know based on my perception, that is a best idea at that moment, because I have experienced it. I know it, that's what I thought. The reality is, after I presented, people didn't agree, which is very normal. Of course, I was hurt, and I said, this is the best idea. Why could not they see it? But the majority cannot accept it. Being trained in a community and seeing that the view of the community is the main view, I have to give up my wish that my idea can be realized. And I have to decide to see things doesn't go in the best way that I can think of. And 2 years later, people, after so many meetings, people come to the agreement, and that falls into the identical of my ideas that I presented 2 years ago. That's what they call experience of living in a community. At that time, I was too young, so I cannot swallow that. I say, see, I told you, it should be like that, and you did not listen to me. Anybody feel sorry for me? I feel sorry for myself at that time. And of course, because of that idea, it blocks my happiness. I was not happy when I saw things was happening in a way that I know that is not the best. But I said, okay, the decision of bhikshuni or bhikshu is the best. That's crucial, and we have to listen. So I listened, and that gave me a chance to transform. I learned to let go of my idea. I learned to take refuge in my community, even though I was not happy. But I learned and transformed myself so I can live peacefully and happily. Everything has to be trained. I cannot say like, be happy and you can be happy. I cannot tell you, let go of it and you can let go of it. But it takes time and it takes a lot of training to be able to do that. So I came to an elder sister and I started complaining. And my elder sister, very wise, I think she went through a lot too, so she just smiled to me and she said, even though your idea is the best, the community is not at the same pace. If the community agreed for you and they're not happy, you don't get enough support because they cannot see it yet. So I thought, very wise. Yes, I can go on with my brilliant idea, but I will go by myself. And our practice is to go together as a river. So I have to slow down my speed. And I have to let people understand me in order that everybody can go together with me. You know, Thầy had a great vision about the online monastery about 10 years ago, when internet started becoming common. So he mentioned to some of us, and he said, I would like to have an online monastery where people who live far away can come into that and feel like they are in Plum Village with all the practice that we are having. His vision was very far, but I didn't understand at that time. At that time, I can see only what they call like, I don't know the term, but I use it like flat internet. So I thought of only a page where we put down articles, pictures, and maybe we upload some of Thay's Dharma talk in it. But nowadays, because of the COVID, we become an online monastery. We do sitting with people through online. People can just come in to the web page at a certain point and they can participate with us in ceremony, in guided meditation session. And like right now, you are there and I'm here, but we feel like we are connected because I'm also talking to you. I'm not just talking to whoever is with me right now. So, you know, some vision can be seen by somebody, but it took years to be realized. Don't be discouraged if you have some brilliant idea. And right now nobody can understand it yet or cannot support you yet. The advantages of a community is that we flow together, we do things together, and we have continuation. That's why with the coming of new aspirants, new future monastics, it gives us a lot of hope that our community continues to go and bring us into the future. The key is whether we are happy with our community. When we love someone, we are easily accept everything from that body, from that person. Everyone has some weakness. But when we love someone, we say, oh, it doesn't matter. That is very small. When we love someone, we have the energy to overcome obstacles, to protect that person, to make that person happy. Thinking about our mother, thinking about our father, thinking about our loved ones. My mother can sacrifice everything to make me happy because she loves me. And I believe most mothers in the world do the same thing. So what gives them that energy is love. How can we give our community the energy so that we can help each other to overcome the difficulties that are happening right now? You live in your house, you live in your home, and you probably have problems. And when you come to the community, you would like to receive some support. You would like to receive some strength that can help you to continue in life. Then what should we do as a member of a community? We come to the community to benefit the energy and benefit everything that we can take from that community. But what should we bring to offer to the community? Each one of us have wisdom. Each one of us have some strong point. Each one of us have energy and love. The problem is when we come together, sometimes we don't know how to harmonize it. So in the practice of the monastic, in one of the 6 concourse, we have what we call harmony of view. Kiến hòa đồng giải. No matter what your idea is, no matter what your view is, we have to harmonize it. And that's why in the decision making of the monastic, we always have the Sangha common. That is to be sure that everybody is happy with the decision before we can move on. And once everybody is silent, whether you like it or not, if you don't speak out anymore and the Sangha common is made, that is the decision of the community, and all of us should support that decision. You cannot come out and say, oh, I don't really like that decision, but because everybody seems like it, so I have to be quiet, but I don't do it. That's not proper. We are very democracy, we can raise up our view, we can fight for our idea, but once the Sangha common is made, we should support it. Now in our lay community, how can we do that? I always think that living in a monastic community is much easier than live in a lay people community. Because everyone, basically you don't live together. You stay in your own home. You have your own comfort zone. And at a certain day, you come together. There you share, you practice. And if you have different ideas, or if you have some misperception about somebody, and if you don't like, you go home, you close the door, and you don't see that person anymore. Or you come to the community meeting when you know that that person is not there. Or in the room, if that person stay here, then you stay there. You avoid being confronted of the person that you don't like. We cannot do that in the monastic community. And that is a challenge. But that is very good for us because we have to face ourselves and we have to transform. A monastic cannot get angry with another person overnight. So we have space to be angry 24 hours. If that person is not going to change, you have to change yourself. And changing here doesn't mean like you lose your identity. Changing here means that you know what is more important. Changing here is a chance for you to face your inner strength and also to see your weakness. And for you to be able to see where is your limit. One time, one person asked Thầy, how do I know that I practice correctly? And Thei's answer is, if the more you practice, the more you feel happy, and the more you see that you have more freedom, then you are practicing in the correct way. So I invite each one of you to look back at your practice and see that, are you having more freedom? Do you feel more happy? If the answer is no, we have the chance to look back at our practice and see where is the knot. What has stopping us from being happy? You know, we all have perceptions. And it's because of our perceptions that we are unhappy. Sister Chân Đức has a Dharma talk for a long time ago. And I have to admit, I don't remember all of them. But what I remember is she said, she took an example of taking a camera. And when you see something beautiful and you want to capture that image, you take the camera up and you took a shot. You know, with the camera, you can take only what is inside that screen. And it's the same thing with your happiness. We have several boxes that we call happiness. And if anything fits into that box, we're happy. We won't be able to see something outside of the box. And that is our perception. I can happy only if the sister become like this. Or I can be happy only if the COVID is over. So if the COVID goes on, we are not happy. And we are not happy for until when? Yes, everything brings the damage for life. But we as a practitioner, we have to find a way so that we can be happy in every minute, in every moment. Yesterday, somebody sent me an email and said that they are worried because now winter is coming, and every year with the winter, without COVID, only the flu can kill a lot of people already. So now with COVID, and they predict a very big number of deaths. So I look at that news and I thought to myself, it might be true. It has some scientific elements in it. But it's not enough to make us become less happy. Because what? Because we have been captured by the threat of the COVID for so long. So it becomes something that making people panic. For every year when we talk about the flu virus, we didn't give it a name, we just say flu virus. And because we cannot get away from it, we get used to welcome it every year. We have flu shot. We are aware that if this year it might have some more severe virus coming in, but maybe flu shot didn't help because you cannot take flu shot for all viruses. So you just took the flu shot of the most harm ones that people think. But new virus coming out every year. Being a human being, we got to deal with everything that is in the environment. So yes, we are alert of what's going on, but we're not panic. Because panicking cannot help. Panicking makes our strength go down, make our spirit go down, and I believe the virus loves people with the spirit like that. So it has been raining for last 3-4 days. And I said, oh boy, it's going to be cold. And yesterday is cold, but the sun will come out again. And life is like that. Everything comes and goes and change. And we ourselves is the same. So, talking about wrong perception, that one is another element that can make our life in the community become difficult. With the perception, we perceive things wrongly. Because Thầy said, if you have perception, most likely it's wrong perception. If it's not something wrong, we already say it for sure. We don't say it perception anymore. Perceiving is because you are not so sure about it. You know, in Vietnamese they call it, in Sino-Vietnamese they call it tưởng. And tưởng is like you think about it, you imagine about it, you thought about it, but you're not so sure about it. So when we perceive everything, or when we perceive anything, we already know that 5% in it is not, is the truth, but the rest is not. So in our community, when we have to communicate with each other, and if we cannot see the true self of everyone, we only see people based on our perception, then that can create distance between us and others. So when anything happens, please, if you are a practitioner, stop doing anything. Do walking meditation, do sitting meditation, calm yourself before you say anything. Now your perception may be still over there. It's still in your head. You cannot get rid of it easily. But refraining of taking any quick action is already a big step. I don't know about you, but I know about myself. And I used to have a very quick reaction. There is an example I shared before, and sometimes I don't want to repeat the example that I already shared. But thinking that maybe this talk goes far away, and there are many people who never heard my sharing before, I think I can repeat it again. When I lived in Hue, we have a very small nunnery called Yudan. And it's about a big building, a long building, about 5 rooms, 5-6 rooms. And it's a 2 stories, thank you. So the top one is the meditation hall. And the bottom one is the rooms of the sisters. And that's about it. And we have the kitchen far away. So each room has around 12 to 16 sisters stay together. We stay in bunk bed. That time I stayed with, I think, 12 sisters. And I came out late. We had a day of mindfulness in another temple. So besides the cooks, everybody already packed and left. And I went on a motorbike. One sister will take me over there. So I left. I'm one of the, I think not one, I actually was the last one that left my room. And normally we have to lock the door and hide the key underneath the mat in front of the room, because we have so many people, we don't know who will come back first. And from where I stand at that time, in front of me is a little courtyard. And behind me was a staircase that were up to the meditation hall. So the sister who would drive me on a motorbike was already at the other side of the building with the motorbike and waiting for me. And I locked the door. And by the time when I just raised the mat up to put the key in, and I looked straight at the courtyard, there were 2 men that looked straight at me. One is one worker who is working on a little fence over there. So I know his face. The other one is completely strange. And I look around and I don't really know what to do because I cannot keep the key. but I cannot put there because he will see it. So, but and I cannot just stand like that because I don't want them to feel that I saw them. Our eyes just like catch each other for a second, and then I lower my eyes. So I just act normally. I put the key underneath, I cover the mat, and I walk out. And when I walk by past those two men, I stop and I just ask like, how are you? I ask the worker that I normally see every day. And I also ask the strange man, I never seen you before. And he said, oh, I'm his friend. I just come and visit him today. So I went on and went to the motorbike. But I didn't feel at ease at all. So I was buying more time. I didn't want to leave right away. So I was buying more time. I walked over to the kitchen, and there were 3 sisters who were cooking over there. So I told them, I said, I saw a strange man over there, and of course we cannot show our doubt, or our distrust people. But I, in fact, was not at ease inside. So I told them, I left my key there. So even you cook, please from time to time go up, go to the front and have a look. They said, don't worry. I went back. I'm mounted to the motorbike already, but I still feel not at ease. So I said, stop. I have to do something. Then I'll get out off the motorbike. I walk back to my room, and I said loudly, just so everybody knows what I'm doing, and I think it's very funny. I said, oh, I forgot something. I have to get it. You don't have to shout for the whole world to know, But I just want to make like my action is very normal to the guys. So I guess they just look at me and they thought that I'm a little bit cuckoo or something. I walked back, and it was only about I think about 5 minutes at most. I went back, I opened the mat because they already saw where I keep it, so it doesn't matter. I opened it, and guess what? The key is no longer there. And I was shocked. I opened the whole mat, and I still don't see the key. Now guess, what come up to me? What come up to my mind? What is my perception at that time? Everybody smiles, so I guess you have the same perception like I had. So, I don't know what to do. I tried so hard so that I would not ask the guys, did you see my keys? But inside here, I really want to be sure. I said, I think he took my key. I think he took my key. How can he did it so quickly? So I went back again to the kitchen, and I told the sisters over there that the key was gone. And they all got shocked. And I said, anyway, it's gone, so I'm going to the day of mindfulness. But please, from time to time, look around the temple and make sure that those 2 guys still just do what they're supposed to do over there. And you bet for my whole day of mindfulness, my mind was with my key. It's not with the Dharma talk, it's not with anything else. What I was happy at that time was that I didn't react strongly, especially talking to those guys, because I probably will not be able to control myself and may say something that's not nice to people. That evening I came home late and my room was open. The sisters was already been in and everybody was normal. So I asked the sisters in the room, how can you get in? Who gave you the key? And they said, I don't know. I came back, the room was open. It really bothered me. Later on, I learned that, and of course, I just want to give you one example about my perception. And it can be something like that. It happened. Very, very unexpected. Later on, I learned that there was one sister who were looking after the meditation hall upstairs. And she didn't go. And she was also late. So when she came out, and she came down the back staircase, by the time she was there, she also saw the situation when the guy looked at me and I was hiding the key. So she made up her mind quickly that after I left, she came and she took the key. And she also made up her mind that she will stay home because she doesn't want people to come home and have no key and things like that. And she went back quickly, quietly, into the meditation hall. So, things like that happen. Now, it's not something serious. But sometimes when it happens, and if we have only 2 people in the house, think back about your experience. Have you ever get misunderstanding your loved one? And it turned out to be something simple. But during the time we have misunderstanding, we have perception, we might say something unkind. We might say something that distrusts the other person. And all of that cause a wound, cause a pain. And if we're lucky, we can solve it later. But if we don't, that can create problem. I have an auntie, and she has only one daughter. And she loves the daughter so much. So she did everything she can to make the daughter happy. And in Vietnam at that time, we don't live each one in one room. But normally, we live in a big room. So that girl used to be with the parents. And when she grew a little bit up, I think about 7 or 8, then my auntie made her own little room. Being with her mother and her father all of these years and suddenly have to be allocated in a different room, she was not very happy. But what scared her was that because their houses was in wood. And the wood, when the weather changed, the wood start creaking. It makes the noise. And next to the room where they give the girl is the ancestor room. In the Vietnamese house, each family, they set up the altar and they have the ancestor. If you are Buddhist, you have the Buddha statue over there, but also you have another table for ancestor. Here you can also see it. We have ancestor altar. And for a child, the ancestral altar is always something very secret and very mystic. I don't know what is the right word, but it's like you feel scared. because of the candlelight, the incense, and so many pictures on it. And it's something that you don't understand. And we have the tendency to be scared of something that we don't understand. So it happened that that altar room is next to the girls' room. And on the entrance is like that, and after that is the family room, and after the family room is the room of my auntie and my uncle. First being a little girl, and in the country like Vietnam about 50 years ago, my cousin cannot understand why my auntie and my uncle, who are two adults, but can be together. And she is a little one, she has to be by herself. Secondly, during the time when she slept, because she's kind of afraid and she couldn't sleep, she heard the wood cracking. And of course she thought of, maybe there's a ghost who are walking, maybe somebody else who are coming into the house, and all kind of imagination coming up like that. So she started having what we call internal formation with her mother. She didn't say to the mother, but deep inside, she had the feelings that her mother didn't love her. Her mother pushed her away. And that one was inside her for so many years until she grew up, and then until she knows more about life and she becomes more strong and she's not scared of little things like that. But her mother always say like, you are my only child, I love you so much. And that knot inside her always coming up and say, I don't believe you. And it's a child wounded, even though it come out as simple as like that. And my auntie didn't know why during all of her teenager she is getting rebellious. She didn't listen to my auntie, and she always wanted to move out. Until I guess after they listened to Thay's talk, both of them came to a talk. Later on they live in America, and when Thay came to America and give talks, they came to a talk. I couldn't remember what talk about. But after I became a nun, then my auntie told me that after that talk of your teacher, that's what she said, then her daughter realized that she has misunderstood her mother for all of these years. And until then, she was 16 or 17 at that time, she was able to open her heart to receive the love coming from the mother. So for how many years? For how many years the relationship between the mother and the daughter, supposed to be good, just got only one perception from the little girl that can become not as good as it's supposed to be. And my auntie was not happy at all, because this is her jewel, this is her only child. She put so much effort into training her younger, and the girl pushed her away. Because like, you has pushed me away, now it's my turn, I pushed you away. And luckily, after the talk, then they reconciled to each other. So, things as little as like that can happen. And one of my experiences, normally after I give a talk, people don't remember anything. They remember a story that I told them. So I'm coming up with another story. There was a nun, she's not here. When she was little, her father had to go away to do business. So she stayed with her mother in a countryside, in a farm. This is also a story in Vietnam. And because her mother has only her, and the father is away, she cannot do a lot of handy things in the house. So there is a neighbor, there is a good man who is neighbor, come and help her to fix the door, to redo the roof, to fix the fence, or set up the supporter for the squash. Something like that, something daily life happen. And of course, with this girl, can you still hear me? Mm-hmm. Okay. With this girl, she feels more connected to this uncle. We call anybody who are close like uncle, auntie, even though there is no relationship. So she called Uncle Hai. She felt more connected to this Uncle Hai than her father, who is doing business and far away. And at that time, of course, there is no airplane that you can fly back every month, or there is no cars that you can go back easy. So he left for 3 years. And when he came back, because she got into pregnancy when he left already. She got pregnant, but she didn't know until he left. So he never really saw her daughter. So there is a perception inside him that this is not his daughter. But he didn't want to say anything because he looked at the year, the age, and it sounds like this might be my daughter. But at that time, in that countryside, there is no DNA and things like that to prove. So he has a doubt inside him. And that doubt increases every day, since he saw that girl has more connection to the neighbor. So since he didn't have any connection with the girl yet, and with that knot inside him, he mistreated the girl. He acted as if the girl is not his. He didn't violate, he didn't really beat the girl, but he showed the coldness, and he didn't really enjoy the effort that the girl trying to give him after her mother said, "This is your daddy." And she has stayed like that with him until she was 10 or 11. And it became a deep wound in her too. And sometimes she talked to her mother like, "I wish that I don't have a dad. It's better than having a dad that didn't really love you and always give you trouble." Until he has a close friend who used to be in his business. And after the business in some town, and they each depart into one place, and they make promise that they will come and visit each other. So a couple of years later, that guy be able to come to this town to visit his friend. And the minute he saw the daughter of this guy, he said, "Oh wow, I didn't know that you have a pretty daughter who looks so much like you." And this is the very first time in so many years the father looked back and he said, "You sure that she looks like me?" And the other guy is very innocent. He said, "Yes, look at that. Look at the nose, look at the smile, look at the forehead." And this is the first time the father looked and observed and looked deeply into my daughter, into his daughter, and find out that yes, she looked exactly like him. But without his friend that came as a naive man, knowing nothing about the story, and give a precise comment like that, he continued to reject his daughter with the perception that this is not my daughter. So of course it's a happy ending. After that, then he started pouring his love to his daughter. So when we had a Dharma discussion and talking about the wounded child, then that nun shared with us her story. So now, when in the community, when a person that we think like, I didn't do anything to her or to him, but why that person seems like don't like me? Why that person always give me trouble? We have to overcome the feelings that it's our fault. Each person might have their own story. They may have the wounded child inside him or inside her that he cannot overcome yet, or maybe because the idea is different, or maybe because of so many reasons. What I'm sharing with you is trying to understand other people. Besides the environment, besides the culture, besides what label on us, that you are like this and I'm like that, there are also suffering in each one of us that need to be understood and need to help. And when we be able to see that, you can see that love, you can start generating love coming from yourself. And once you be able to have love, you can easily accept the person. Now love and understanding come together. Because you understand that you can love, but also because of love, then you can understand more. And once we be able to do that, we can live in harmony. Because we look into one person deeper than what is the outer appearance, actions of that person. But we can see more into the person and we can accept. We in New Hamlet has a workshop so that the sister, each time can be one or two sisters, we share something that they said they never shared to people before. They share about their childhood, they share about something, and that helps the whole community understand about why that sister always like that, or why that sister react like that when a certain situation happens. And it's very helpful. It's nourished all of us, and we can live in harmony. So even though in the meeting we can have very different ideas and sometimes it's very strong idea to each other, we still can be together in harmony because we can accept each other. So please, when you look at one person, remove the label that you already have on that person. Trying to see the real person of that person. But before doing that, you have to do it for yourself. You have to be still, and you have to have time for yourself to understand more about yourself. When you be able to understand yourself, you can be easily understand the other. If we don't understand ourselves, we will project our wish, our desire into other people. And we only want the other person to change. We forgot that the person who can change, and we have the power to make that person change, is ourselves. If you don't change, don't expect other people to change. And it's the same thing like right now. With all of the protests, all of the demonstrations, all of the actions that we're calling each other, like we have to do this, we have to do that, to help the world. There's nothing wrong about it. But have you ever looked at yourself and see that with the person that you have all power to do, can you do it yet? Can you transform yourself yet? Can you understand yourself yet? Can you do it with your loved ones yet? And then can you do it within your community yet? Before we extend it to the bigger scale. We always think like, oh, if we don't do, who will do? Is it really important if you cannot do it for yourself yet? Because no matter how good a movement or a things that we do, but if we don't do it out of love, our compassion, our understanding, it can bring a different result. People who have been doing social work, they spend so much time and so much effort and so much energy. They will be exhausted because they don't know how to nourish themselves. And during the time that you take the action, maybe there are things that touch your weakness and make you feel depressed. So I heard that the people who commit suicide can be psychologists, can be doctors, can be policemen. The one who's supposed to bring support to other people. Yet, of course, everybody can commit suicide when they feel like they reach the end and they don't know how to deal with. But as a community of practitioners, monastic or non-monastic, we have the Dharma door. We have the environment so then we can practice and help ourselves. And only when we can help ourselves, we are eligible to think of helping others. So that we don't pour our suffering into other people. I know one guy in one lay community, in America. He's full of suffering because his children didn't get the job that he wants. They got the job that they want, but not he wants. His wife didn't support him because he likes the community work. So he takes refuge in the community as a place where he can do what he wants. Because at home, his wife didn't listen to him. The children moved out. So he came to the community not because of practicing, but because of thinking of a space so he can, what in Vietnamese called sân chơi. How do you say it in English? It's like the French word coming to my mouth. Moyen, how do you say it in English? It's a means. He took the community space as his. And because of that, he poured out all of his desire and his suffering into the members of the community. And the community become suffer because they don't know how to handle this guy. So if we come together as practitioners, remember, practice is the main thing that we should do. Only when you can generate inner strength, then you can be yourself and you can help others. If each member of that community practice well with walking meditation, sitting meditation, and so on, they are calm, they are strong, then they can help that guy. Instead of they become victims of all the pouring, suffering from that guy. So the Buddha showed us the way. Thais show us all the Dharma doors. Our job is to do it. So today I talk about right view, I talk about wrong perceptions, and I talk about right action. An action can be right only when it also carries the energy of insight, of love, of understanding. If not, the action might look like a right action, but can bring damage. I think I want to talk about a lot. I just carry only one thing, so I would like to conclude with an image that I saw the other day. Autumn is coming, so the leaves become yellow. And the other day there was a little storm coming, so one branch of leaves, I didn't bring it here, one branch of leaves was broken. And in it we saw there are some yellow leaves and some green leaves. And one leaves were damaged and has hole in it. So I pick up that leaves. I don't think I want to draw. My drawing is not beautiful. I just explain. So I pick up that branch of leaves, and I think of our Sangha. We have some that are very young, just come into the Sangha, full of energy. And we have some yellow, probably like me, getting old and not so young anymore. We have healthy leaves in it, and we also have leaves that have holes because of the insect, which means that in our community we have people who are different. Some probably have to rely on the community to live, and some who are full of energy and can bring the community go on. But we all live in harmony, like all branches, all leaves in one branches, and one branch is all branches of one tree. We collect the energy of the cosmos, of the sun, to nourish the trunk of the tree. So all of us, we are parts of the cosmos, and we all have our jobs to do, even though it's small or big. Just live naturally, doing the best we can, and look at each other with love and compassion and understanding. I believe the world needs it. Thank you so much for listening.